Reporters simply cannot shake it no matter how hard they try. Don't believe me? Karoline Leavitt, let me prove it to you.
Putin's intentions, and specifically it was asked whether or not his intentions go beyond, his territorial ambitions go beyond Ukraine. How does the president view this issue?
The president has spoken on this. He said, as he calls it, he believes Ukraine was always the apple of Putin's eye. And he made it very clear to Putin in his first term not to invade Ukraine. Putin didn't invade Ukraine because of President Trump's peace through strength foreign policy agenda and the effective deterrence policies that he implemented in the first term. Unfortunately, because of the weakness and incompetence of the previous administration, Vladimir Putin made the decision to invade Ukraine, and now we have this brutal war which the president is working very hard to end.
And I must admit that she is exactly correct in saying that there was peace through strength, and Joe Biden utterly wasted it. For the United States, he not only lost control, but he also seriously damaged our reputation abroad. People love to say, oh, Trump made us a laughingstock on the world stage. But really, that man kept the world in check. He was the one who entered the lion's den with North Korea, which is home to some of the most dangerous and unpredictable people on the planet. They aren't exactly people you want to get along with, but let's face it, they pose a serious threat. And Trump was able to stabilize things in a way that no one else had.
A lot of security around the White House complex, around the Capitol complex, even along the tidal basin. Is that just proactive? Are you expecting anything in particular in terms of unrest like we've seen in Los Angeles?
These are proactive security measures to protect those marching in the parade, many of whom will be veterans and our brave men and women in uniform and Gold Star families. There's going to be military families from around the country who are flying into this parade. And of course, it's to protect the spectators who will be enjoying this incredibly patriotic show on Saturday. And I hope you all join us there.
Hold on tight, for the questions that follow will be far more difficult and impolite than those that John gave us in the last film. Watch Karoline continue to do what she does best, which is to correct the record and put individuals in their proper place.
Saying they want to reclaim the American flag. It's also being titled No King's Day.
The president views himself as the president of the United States of America. This is a constitutional republic, and we want to see all of our citizens be proud of the country in which they are given the privilege and the blessing to live. And I think those images of foreign flags being waved with, by illegal criminals and by violent rioters in the face of cars blowing up and of flames in the city. I have photos of that here to show you. With this violence and destruction that occurred is an image that Governor Gavin Newsom owns. This is his city, and President Trump saw these images and he said that is not going to be accepted or tolerated, and hence why he deployed the National Guard and United States Marines who have helped to quell that violence.
They love calling Trump the content president, and I think Asmongold Gold really helped that phrase take off. It fits because now we're not just talking about the issues, we're showing them the pictures, laying down the evidence, and saying, here's what your city looks like, now do something about it. I couldn't have put it better myself. Also, what really stands out is that the White House is bringing receipts, not just talking points, not vague rhetoric, but cold hard proof. That is the beginning of true change.
He does end up deploying any National Guard members, perhaps Marines, to blue states. Would he be in contact with the governors prior to this? Would it be necessary?
Well, President Trump was in contact with Governor Gavin Newsom despite some of the claims he's made in the last couple of days. The president called the governor on Friday evening and told him to let law enforcement in California do their job, but they have been kneecapped by incompetent Democrat policies and Democrat politicians. President gave Gavin Newsom a warning and said, get it together. 24 hours later, we saw more images like this. We heard about Border Patrol agents who were being the target of rocks. These illegal criminals were throwing rocks at our Border Patrol and ICE agents. And so the president made the decision to federalize California's National Guard.
Then comes Caitlin Collins, who constantly has that scowl on her face like someone just went by with weak old rubbish. You can see what I mean if you look at her. She always seems angry and somewhat disgusted.
Secretary Noem sent a memo to the Pentagon asking Secretary Hegseth to have and direct the military that's on the ground in LA
to arrest and detain what she said were lawbreakers. Is the president okay with that? And under what authority would the members of the military be able to arrest people inside the United States?
And as you know, the president federalized the National Guard under U.S. Code 10, which he has the authority to do. And our United States Marines and the National Guardsmen and women who are on the ground right now are helping to create a peaceful environment for ICE and Border Patrol, who were being, again, hailed with rocks, who were being violently and viciously attacked. They needed reinforcements, and so our United States Marines who are on the ground are providing those reinforcements to ensure the environment is peaceful so that these raids and deportations can.
And if you thought that was the end of it, guess again. Karoline unleashed another precisely timed counterpunch, and Caitlin returned for more.
He realizes they can't actually arrest people unless he invokes the Insurrection Act, which, I mean, seemingly was not something that was in Secretary Noem's memo, a clear distinction she did not make there.
Again, you're trying to conflate a letter that was sent to the Department of Homeland Security to the president's legal authority. The president understands the legal authority that he invoked, and that's the current situation right now.
When it comes to federalizing the National Guard, what is the specific criteria that the president is using for when he's deciding to do that, and in which states?
The president was asked and answered this yesterday. He wants to see an end to the chaos and the violence. He doesn't want to see law enforcement officers being attacked. He wants to see peace. He wants law-abiding Californians to be able to bring their kids to school, to be able to go to work without seeing this violence in the streets. That's what the president's hoping for, and that's why he's taking this action.
This young man is with Timcast News, and I had no idea he would be there, which makes it even more awesome. It demonstrates that the White House is now making room for the voices that matter online. Timcast isn't just some niche outlet, it's the largest daily live show in the world, hands down the biggest political show out there. Maybe Asmongold edges him out in raw numbers now, but still Timcast is a monster in the space and a lad being. They're front and center asking questions. That's a big deal. Huge congratulations to him. It's amazing to see. But more importantly, it's a sign that we're finally acknowledging that these platforms are real and that voices from outside the traditional media machine should be heard. That's progress. Alright, let's move on to the final clip, which you won't want to miss.
First Amendment protection, the most important, is stopping violence, most important. Why is he not out saying all peaceful protesters will be protected?
I think two things can be important at the same time, and the president, as I just answered, supports the right of Americans to peacefully protest. He supports the First Amendment, but that is not the majority of the behavior that we have seen taking place in Los Angeles. We have seen mobs of violent rioters and agitators assaulting law enforcement officers, assaulting our federal immigration authorities. And we have seen, as I said, this goes back to what this administration is trying to do and accomplish, and that's enforcing law and order in our nation's community.
Furthermore, isn't it funny in a sad, absurd manner that Gavin Newsom is sitting here looking like everything is fine and nearly pleading with us to think that no, really, everything is fine? The same goes for the mayor. In the meantime, there is nothing to see here. People. The reality is so clear, but here is where you come in. I genuinely want to know what you think about everything. These situations impact everyone, and your voice counts, so please leave a comment and let's discuss it. Also, remember to like, subscribe, and interact however you can. It really helps. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next.